Sweet, beautiful souls. Hello and welcome back to Divine Alignment. What a powerful, beautiful, expansive, and fun episode this is going to be. I shared on Instagram that I had a wild, incredible 10 years worth of work in 2 weeks being back where I grew up. And many of you replied and answered that you would like to see and hear how someone who helps people work through their shadows, through their traumas, does this for themselves. How does a hypnotherapist, an energy worker, someone who is like in this world, how do I do my own work? So that is what we're going to be diving into. Now, here's where I would like to start off with. Because this is what made all of this happen. I asked. And here's the thing. When we ask God, Source Divine, our angels and guides, our soul, for something, we will receive what we are asking for. However, this may not come in the way that we think it will come. That is what transpired. Because here's the thing. When we ask for something, we will be given what we need in order to become the person who has that, who is that, right? And so if what we are asking for just dropped into our reality, and we didn't have to change it all, we didn't have to become any different, we didn't have to do anything, it would be a mismatch, right? Because what you're asking for is at a different frequency than the frequency that you're asking for. So in order to have what you are desiring, we have to get to that frequency. Now, a lot of things can transpire to help us get to that frequency. In my case, in what we're going to be talking about today, is I was brought forth divine, beautiful opportunities to work through some shadows and to ultimately really call back some soul fragments, which I'll be diving into. And if you have seen one of my recent videos, I talked about how I very, very, very much am no longer seeking out. If you're on the podcast, or if you're on YouTube and you're getting to watch me, just an extra level of fun. That's all. But if you're on the podcast, it's totally fine and great. And we welcome you in either form. But I am no longer seeking for shadows. I'm no longer on the lookout. Like I see so many people get into this trap and this it's like a hamster wheel of shadow work. And it's very easy to do. And I find many people experience this in the spiritual and even personal development and self-help and this whole realm is like, oh, I see how going back and doing this trauma work, this shadow work was really helpful. And so I'm gonna just like keep digging and keep digging and keep digging and digging and digging and digging and digging. And then next thing you know, you're in a hole of all of your shadows and like you're just clearing stuff left and right. And while yes, there's a time and a place for looking at our past lives in Atlantis and Lemuria and Egypt. And I'm bringing these up because these are all some that I've worked through and seen, like, right? But at what point are we letting this rule our reality and not really like allowing for fun, joy, magic, miracles, synchronicities? This is why the miracle frequency was birthed, is because after I was in the trenches of these shadows for so long and not getting to where I wanted to go, I then realized, oh, I have to balance the scale with magic, miracles, and synchronicities. If you're not in the miracle frequency, oh my goodness. All of the details for that will be below. I still welcome you into this container because this is how we, even through the shadow work, bring forth magic, miracles, and synchronicities to even begin to see our shadows and the hard work as a gift from divine, as a gift for us and our path and how we are living and working with our angels and guides in very specific ways and very the questions and ways to work with our guides that are not just like, hey, do you hear me? Like I'm asking for you. Like, no, like and have the clear, direct communication with your angels and guides, with your soul, with source to create what you want in the world. Right? Because that's what we came here to do. Not to like hope and wish and pray that something's going to happen. No, we came here to powerfully become the person who is and has. And that is what the miracle frequency is designed to help you do, see, achieve, and become. So details for that will be below. So as I have been I'm in this place now. I've made an agreement with my soul, with source, with my guides, that as I need to work with shadows, they will present to me. Otherwise, I'm living the miracle frequency. So some shadows presented to me. And here's the thing. So I was called back to Colorado. If you don't know, that's where I grew up until before I moved to Portland for grad school. And I fell in love with the nature here. And the nature is what has kept me here. We won't dive into all of the other things that go on, but the nature here is, you will not find it anywhere else. You will not find it anywhere else as the nature in Oregon. It is just incredible. So anyways, I went back to Colorado, and this was a very unique opportunity because my mom invited me to come, asked me to come rather. And my initial response was no, because it was while her and my dad were traveling. They were on a vacation. And I said, no, absolutely not. If I'm going to come home, I want, like, home to me is you two. It's my parents, it's my family. Home is not a physical structure. As I've been learning more and more throughout the years, I see home is within. Home is what we create within, and it is people we love. Home is not a physical place or space. So I said, absolutely not. I would not like to come home and watch the kitty and home while you are away. That does not sound fun. And after a series of events, I was like, okay, clearly Spirit is orchestrating this for me and asking me to come home because their neighbors who always watch their cat was not able to. And so, anyways, next thing I know, I'm on a flight home. So I realized that this was a very unique opportunity in that when I typically go back, I am immersed in connections, doing things with my family, being with them. And when that takes place, I'm not really like working on my own stuff because I'm doing things, right? I'm I'm with family as we should do when we're family is around. So having this time to myself, all of these shadows just presented to me. And what I realized is the importance, not the importance, the opportunity that we had to heal our shadows in the environment in which they took place. Now, I would like to preface, I had a very blessed childhood. I had a very blessed upbringing. I had a very blessed, so many abundance of blessings, truly, 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 truly. However, when we have difficulties, our mind paints puts weight on these. Our mind puts weight on the challenges, and it puts priority on the challenges, and it puts like this flag tag in our mind. So when we look back on things, everything could have been amazing and wonderful, but if there was like one bad thing that happened, the mind will remember that. You know what I'm talking about. And so this is really beginning to repattern and recode our energetic circuitry, which is what my guides have been teaching me about recently, is energetic circuitry in the body, or rather the field and our bodies reflecting. So in the body, around the body, our energetic circuitry. And what happens is that when we experience these difficult things, it literally hardwires the energetic circuitry in our body. So I had an opportunity to really realign some of this energetic circuitry. Now, for those of you who don't know much of my journey, and I'm not going to get into like a lot of the details, but I have struggled with my health since the age of 2. At 2 years old, I was hospitalized and almost died from pneumonia. And looking back now, I know why I got pneumonia, certain trauma that triggered that and part of my soul path and all of this. And but that really like set me up on this beautiful divine experience of and journey rather of getting to deeply learn the body through challenges over my life. And one of the really, really difficult challenges that I experienced in the latter part of high school and college was an eating disorder. And I went to inpatient treatment for an eating disorder my between my freshman year and sophomore year. That summer, I went away to treatment. No one knew. I told one friend because it was such a secretive thing at that time. I didn't want anyone to know. I told one good friend that I went. And other than that, I just was like, went away and gained all this weight and came back and hoped no one would notice. I'm sure people were like, what happened to her? Um, Not that that even really matters though, but we have all of these thoughts about how things happen. So I went, my family does not live where I went to school, but I went there twice to where I went to college. And I've gone to this town where I went to college before. I went to, for those of you who are curious, I went to CU Boulder, and I loved, like, seriously, truly, what an incredible experience. Like, I had so much fun in college. But also I really struggled because I was like really deeply in this eating disorder. And really, like when I look back, I'm like, that truly painted so much of that experience. Um, yeah, because when you're a prisoner in your mind, it paints your experience. And I shared on Instagram, like I think why I'm another reason why I'm so passionate about helping people like with their energy and mental health is because I was deep in it. Like I know what it's like. This is why I created the miracle frequency too, because I know what it's like to truly feel like a prisoner in your mind and in your body and in life. To, my gosh, like also like as I tuned in, like for sure. I mean, now I really just believe that anyone who's deep in an eating disorder or deep in any type of like mental illness, I really believe there's some type of entity attachment situation going on there. And for sure, I had that because if you have a dictator in your head telling you what to do, that's not you. That's not God. That's not source love. That's an entity that's telling you that you better do this or you will not be good enough. That's an entity. And we can remove those. We can clear those. We can release those. However, what that requires is filling that area, that space back with you. So you have to be ready to come back into your body. And when the body feels safe, we can do this. However, yeah, I mean, I don't want to make blanket statements for entity removal because it's going to present differently. And if this is something that you're like perhaps concerned about, just reach out and we can look in and see if this would be something that we can work through together. Like I said, I do help people with this, but I never want to create blanket statements on this because it really is a case by case thing that I would never want to instill fear in anyone. Um, because you're more powerful than that. You're more powerful than that. And so that's all I want to say on that. And also that we live in a world of polarity. So, and dark forces, they crave light. So if you are a light being, it makes sense. Okay. And also, like, ultimately it's just getting you deeper on your soul path, right? Like it's leading you to your soul path and to your highest alignment. So another aspect though that I want to talk about here is soul fragments. So when we go through traumatic things, a piece of our soul breaks off. Like this is the nature of really difficult things. And I help my clients do this all the time, call back soul fragments. However, it's always wild when I get to experience it and do it for myself. So, especially with something like an eating disorder. So, I had many health issues, many health issues. And honestly, the eating disorder was it was all like this just intertwined thing. Like the eating disorder was helping me to dissociate from the health issues, but also dissociate from the trauma that caused the health issues. And, it was just this whole thing that I had gone to therapists and doctors and healers and practitioners, and they complicated things and made me mad at people that I didn't need to be mad at, and helped me talk about things and talk about things and talk about things, which I'm a Scorpio, like just, I'm very hard to like crack open usually. Like me sharing these types of things like is actually very vulnerable, but I know that these are going to help people, and that there are someone who really deeply needs this information. And but back then, oh my goodness, I hated talking about it, and it really didn't help to just have someone ask me about what mom and dad did and why that was a problem and an issue, and how to create boundaries, which if you have seen my recent video that I did, you might not have a boundaries issues. You might just be being given a reflection of something that is lacking within yourself. So I digress. Soul fragments. So what I realized going back here is this was an opportunity for me to call back my soul fragments. And the thing is, as well, we can absolutely call back soul fragments at any place in time. There's something really powerful about doing it in the environment in which it took place. And for me, doing it in the environment in which it took place was truly the key to healing, because going back into the environment in which it took place, I was reminded of the challenges, the obstacles, the suffering, the sadness, the pain, the anger, the hurt. All of that was just like dug up from within me. And I was shown it. I was given it on a silver platter to look at, to welcome, to not embrace, to not shy away from. And so here's the like first thing when it comes to working with your shadows and these difficult parts is to not shy away from it. Welcome it in. Welcome in these aspects of you, because they are just here to show you healing, you, truth. So what happened was when I went to Boulder the first time, what I realized and what took place. So I went to one of my favorite restaurants, and then I went to hike this hike that I did all of the time, which I did this hike again, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I don't even know how I did this hike previously. Like weighing under 100 pounds, climbing this mountain. I just don't know how I did it. Like I went back and like I hike all the time. So like I was good, but I was like, oh my goodness, this is not an easy hike for sure. Which it was so wild because the first day that I went back to Boulder, if you don't know this, Boulder is like the eating disorder capital of the country. Lots of people, like it is just a frequency. Many people are struggling with their body, their health. Like everyone is just like, let's go run a marathon. And oh my gosh, on the day I was there, it was the day of the Boulder, which is the marathon, the annual marathon. So I'm driving in and everyone's like doing this marathon. And I was like, how perfect. I arrive on this day for this marathon. And it was all just so divinely planned, because what would used to trigger me, I was like, saw so much love and acceptance around. And so as I go and I do this hike, immediately all of the thoughts started coming back of like, oh my gosh, I used to do this hike, like having been so malnourished. And like, I immediately started this hike being like, wow, like This is the healthiest I've been doing this hike. What a gift to be doing this hike, actually feeling good. And just like feeling that in my body as I did this hike. And granted, this hike was still hard. And like that's why I like hikes, is because it's like it's a mental, it's half of it is a mental game. When it's like a challenging hike, right? Because it's like overcoming what you think you can do. But there's a very different energy in overcoming something like that versus like when you're deep in an eating disorder and like, I have to do this in order to XYZ. They're different energies. And so being in the energy of, I can overcome this and like, I want to overcome this versus like, I have to do this, like the entity voice, right? And really just disorder voice. So as I'm doing this and I get to this, it was just very interesting doing this, like all of the like things that were sprinkled into this experience, because I get to the top and there were like these guys that were like, yeah, we just did the boulder. We did the boulder twice, literally did the marathon twice. One round to get our time, like a good time, and the second round to go and like drink all the beer. And now we're hiking Sanitas. And I'm like, this is so Boulder. Like, people do 2 marathons and then go hike a mountain. And then at the top, there's also this guy who's like, he was on meth. Like, I like look over because I'm like hearing him talking and he's looking at me just talking. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, we're not going to do our meditation here. We'll find somewhere else. So I like walked back down and found a place to just begin working with energy. So I then like just tuned in, and what I saw was like old aspects of me and the soul fragments that broke off at each place and each turn, and going, and like I was seeing me going to class and seeing me on the weekends and seeing me working. I worked 2 jobs while getting 2 degrees. Like, that's why it took me many years to heal from adrenal fatigue and burnout. And just like seeing those aspects of me, and I just was sending her love, sending her love, sending her love, sending her love, recoding that energetic circuitry. And so what transpired was, and this is the really cool part, what transpired was, if you envision a map of consciousness from David Hawkins, what you will see is that we have at the very bottom the lower emotions, and we have neutrality in the very middle, or at 200, and then from 200 to 1,000 are the higher emotions. So what happened was, I was holding in my consciousness, unknowingly, I was holding in my consciousness the energies of sadness, anger, apathy. These are all the lower emotions. And what I did on that first trip to Boulder, and just literally going through and recoding by redoing that hike, going to the places I was doing and doing it in a new energy, I brought that piece and aspect of me up to neutrality. I left, and even a bit of acceptance. Acceptance really was like what I felt leaving that place that day. I drove home feeling acceptance. And so as that took place, it was my soul fragments began to come back and come back and come back and come back. I wasn't planning on going back there again. However, a week, like 6 days later, I woke up with the clear message from Spirit to go. So I was like, okay, I guess we're going to Boulder again today. So I went to Boulder, but again, and I went to my this cute little health cafe, and then went to that hike again. And oh my goodness, I went and I did a meditation again, and something really beautiful transpired. And this is where the healing transpired. I then went from neutrality and acceptance to appreciation. I went to appreciation for everything that had happened. because I didn't realize how much anger and sadness and disassociation I was holding in my body of this experience. So as I then saw it all from a higher perspective, literally and figuratively, climbing this mountain, I then was able to love that part of me, love that time in my life, and see it for where it's gotten me. All of the relationships that with not just, not just romantic ones, but like friendships and people I met and where we've all ended up and will continue to grow into, and having all of those memories and experiences and holding nothing but love, nothing but love. And that's what heals. That's what heals. Like we see this, I know this is going to be a sensitive topic for some people to hear, but cancer is holding resentment and anger in the body. It's holding this energy in the body. And so when we can release, and that's what dis-ease is. Dis-ease is a holding of energy in the body. And if we can, and here's the thing, like this has taken me years and years and years of work, of internal work to get to a place where I could release that energy and see it through a lens of love. We don't do this overnight. Okay. So don't just like, if you have a very charged situation, I do not recommend you just trying to go from like anger to love. Like it just doesn't work like that. Like I have spent years like cultivating, and that's exactly why like spirit brought me here now at the time that I was, because I was ready to heal this. I wasn't ready a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. I wasn't. But as I've been entrenched in this work and I do this work and I show up for myself and my healing and my growth, like then spirit is going to guide us and lead us, and our soul is going to lead us and guide us to the things that we're ready to heal. And what I realized is that in order to become the person who has and is XYZ, like I had to make peace with these parts of my past. And I'm saying this to you because there is most likely an aspect of you, there's something you want to become. We all want to become something greater than what we are right now. This is the nature of human evolution, is there's always a next level. And of course, holding gratitude for where we are, because where we are is perfect. It's exactly where what we need to be in order to get to where we want to go. And then the next and the next and the next. There's never an arriving. We are always ascending and growing and achieving and expanding. It's the nature of the world. But holding any type of sadness, regret, anger towards these parts of ourselves in the past and the people in our past, it's going to be very difficult to get to where we want to go. Making peace with the past. And again, like I said, this isn't something that you just like, okay, I make peace. Namaste. This is a process, okay? Like this is why I say this was one of the most challenging weeks of my life, because I made peace and acceptance and love and gratitude with one of the most challenging times of my life. And I didn't do this alone. I did this with the help of my angels and guides. I even talked to my mentor at one point. Like this was, and then I really recommend like working with someone like myself or someone who is informed in this type of work, working with energy, working with the unconscious mind, working with soul fragments, entities, like the whole picture, right? To truly bring you back into power and wholeness. Because when we're in wholeness, we're not being pulled back by our past. And here's the thing, I didn't even know this. I didn't even realize this with my conscious mind, that I was literally carrying this heavy backpack And this is the analogy I like to use, is that like that's what trauma is. It's like a heavy backpack that we're just like carrying. And it's like slowing us down and it's making the journey really difficult. But it's like we can just take off or take out the unnecessary, the bricks in the backpack. Then we now are like equipped for this journey of life with like just the essentials, just what we need. Just the Palo Santo in our backpack. Just the crystals, just the tarot cards. We only have that. We don't need all the bricks and traumas. Like, we just pack what we need and want. And if you're me, you don't even hike with a backpack. You don't even have water because you just want to be with nature. So you just take the backpack off entirely. Maybe you'll get a fanny pack, maybe a little fanny pack with like some chapstick in your keys and your phone. Anyways, this is what transpired. And this is how we work through shadow work, is like lovingly, gently, and with an open heart and a receptive heart. Not like, yes, it's painful to look at our shadows. That's the point. It's painful. And on the other side of it is so much lightness, so much joy, so much pleasure, abundance, happiness, because we welcomed in that which we had been unknowingly suppressing. So when we can welcome it in, we clear, we transmute, and we move forward now on a new path, a new trajectory, a new timeline. We have to face it. And that's what I tell people all the time. Would you rather feel something really intensely for a few minutes, maybe even a few days? Or would you have it low grade in your system and in your body and in your experience for the rest of your life and lifetimes? And here's the thing too, doing this work, it clears it from not only this life, but lifetimes past. That's how important it is. And that's what's transpiring. So then I realized, so then I did this and I'm like thinking I'm done. I'm like, whew, glad that's over with, right? No, 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 no. Then I start having, it was like the last day of me being alone. Um, I wake up to some wild dreams. And it was dreams of me and people from high school. And immediately I was taken a bit off guard. I was like, why am I being shown this? Why am I being shown this? And then I was shown like a bottle and the cork coming off. And so what our dreams are often doing is processing things. So I realized, oh, this is my brain, my unconscious mind processing all of this information. So it was literally like I opened the cork, opened the bottle. Now all the stuff in the bottle could come out. So that's what was happening, memories. And so what I did for this particular instance, when I asked my guides, I was like, okay, how am I healing this part? How, like, show me how to work through this. And I was just guided to Ho'oponopono. And if you're not familiar with Ho'oponopono, it's a beautiful Hawaiian prayer. It's, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. You can look them up on YouTube, on Google. There are like playlists of them, like all these things. But you don't need any of that. You could just say those words. So I said this to all of these people from my past. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And I just went through all of these people and all of these experiences from high school, from middle school, from elementary school, from my childhood, and just realizing that this energy has carried through the entirety of my life and experiences, and just sending love, sending love, sending love. And this is how we do shadow work, right? It doesn't have to be anything more than that. It can be, as you can see, like, and so then you have to get it out of the body, right? So this is where I recommend like doing an exercise, working out, doing like breath work, doing something to move the energy and release it from your body. And this is going to be different for every person, for every situation. And so like I tuned in and did what I needed to do for my body and my experience. And this is what helped move move the energy through. Okay. And this is really important. We can't just mind our way through everything and think our way through everything. We have the body. We have to take care of the body. Okay. And this is doing shadow work. This is how it takes place. And so then after that, we have the integration. So the integration has been reintegrating with my parents, having, being with them, and then coming back to Portland. And the work just doesn't end just when the work ends. It's the integration is so important because this is how we really recalibrate to this new aspect, a new level of who we are and who we be and what we're becoming in the world and sharing with the world. And this is how we anchor in that new frequency. And so for me, this has looked like, oh my goodness, needing a lot of rest and a lot of time in nature. Mainly those, because my dreams have still been revealing that we are still working through things. And that's okay. That's okay, because once I release that energy there, now I have the opportunity to release that energy thread here, right? Because energy, and here's the thing, this doesn't mean that I've done anything wrong or like I'm not, I think a lot of people, and myself included in the past, felt a lot of judgment. Like, I thought I healed that. Like, there are layers to things, and it's okay if they come back up. It's okay if they resurface. It doesn't mean you didn't fully clear it or like all of these things. It's like, no, you cleared what you needed to get you to where you were meant to. And now, okay, if there's another layer, another thing to work through, that's okay. We work through it. We allow the experience of it. It's not bad or good or right or wrong. Like, this is the human experience. Obstacles are inevitable. They're inevitable. And the more that we welcome them and trust that they're part of our soul path, the faster and quicker and easier we work through these things, right? And so that's what I've been doing as I've been back, is like integrating with the world, integrating with myself, integrating with my being, my body, the experience, um, helping clients do the same, because we're all going through our own iteration of expansion and growth and calling back soul fragments, releasing entities, and embodying our truest best self. Like, what our soul is desiring and what we were destined to become. And so that's been the journey. I'm just really excited to be able to share these like more human and more personal aspects. Um, because these are really just intended to help ground in all of our experiences, right? Because none of us are going through things in isolation. And while I bring forth these beautiful channeled messages that expand and elevate us, there's also my very real human experience and humanness that I still have things I work through. And I will. We all will. We will continue to forever. Forever being as long as we're in these human these human vessels, because it's part of the earth game is challenges, working through them and creating through our obstacles and creating opportunities through the obstacles. That's why we came, to see how powerful we are through all of that. So with that, I hope that this served you and supported you in your shadow work, in your integration, in your wherever you're at in the process of an obstacle and an opportunity. And if you're needing deeper support, please reach out to someone, myself or someone else, to have that support in your journey. And if you're just looking to anchor into magic, miracles, and synchronicities through your process, both of the information and links will be below. With that, I'm just sending you all infinite love and light.